Hey guys, Shalreth here with another exciting day of Fire Emblem Heroes. Today we're going to be doing our third part of the series, Keep or Send Home, and we're going to be reviewing the red heroes. There's quite a bit of red heroes, so let's go ahead and just jump in and let's start talking about them. So first up is Alfonse. So Alfonse is one of the starter heroes. Of the starter heroes, I actually think he's going to be a keep along with Serena. I know some people have made some arguments about Hana. I just don't think she's has the really good support stats. But Alfonse AoE attack buff, and then also the reason that I think Alfonse is good is mainly because of this combo right here. He has his special and then also his final weapon. Because his final weapon combos really nicely with his special. So when he's below 50% life, he gets 5 more attack, and he heals for 50% of the damage. So that comboed also with his death blow plus 6 attack. If this unit initiates combat, he can actually heal up quite a bit of damage just by positioning him and really taking advantage of those skills. So I think he's actually a keep. His attack stats not super great starting off, but he does have a 16 might weapon. Again, putting all those things together, I think he could actually be a very formidable unit. And he also has some self-sustain, and I think self-sustain is actually really important, a really powerful stat to have. So Alfonse is a keep. So Corrin, the male version. So Corrin has a very interesting skill that I don't think we've got to see yet, which is obstruct. I think only the red heroes have obstruct. I think obstruct can actually be really useful on heroes that are tanky or heroes that are quick. So an infantry or a cavalry that had obstruct, because you can get out into the front lines and start slowing the movement of the enemy, because they're going to have to go around you rather than being able to pass right next to you. So he does get a little bit tanky with the +3 defense. He has the obstruct, and overall I think he's okay. He's kind of a maybe. If you really want to use him for the obstruct, I could see him having some use. He does have a 16 might weapon, which is really big deal. Again, 8 attack is a little bit on the lower side, and +4 speed is actually pretty good, but he doesn't really have any way to take advantage of the high attack. 4 turn cooldown with 50% more attack. He's a very like balanced character. He doesn't really excel at one particular thing. I think if he was a little bit more tanky, he'd actually be a really good obstruct unit. But the one thing I'd be afraid of is having him go out kind of solo to slow down the enemy's movement while you kind of get into position, start doing some damage, and then he winds up dying. So like I said, I think I'd actually keep him, just because if you could build a good team and really use the obstruct, I think he could actually be a good unit to add to a team. Alright, so Hana. So Hana is really good at one thing, and that's attacking. She also has the obstruct. Now see, I don't think the obstruct on her is actually useful, mainly because she does not have good defense or good resistance. She has amazing speed, high attack. Her weapon's 12. That's a little bit on the lower side. I'd say 13 is kind of average. 12 is kind of average too, but it's a little bit on the lower side of what we've seen. And then she gets her 5 attack and 5 speed and even less defense and resistance. So she is not going to get a whole lot of use out of obstruct, mainly because she's going to just get killed immediately. She does have the rally attack, which I think is probably one of the better rallies. she's a good damager, but I just think that there's other units that are gonna bring a lot more to your team. I don't think she's gonna be someone who you're gonna say, hey, I can put Hana in there and she's gonna make a difference. If you're low on damagers, I guess you could use her, but I'd actually say send her home. All right, Hinata. All right, so Hinata suffers from the Fury skill as well. Again, we've talked about Fury. This is the third hero we've seen with Fury. I just don't think it's going to be too helpful for him. Now, the one advantage he has is he is pretty tanky with his 12 defense starting, which is pretty high, and then also his reduced damage from adjacent enemies. I just the 6 damage I think is too much. Again, you're dedicating a healer to try and heal that damage. Now I think if someone had you know, like Alfonse skill where they recover life after they attack and had Fury, that would actually be a really good combo. Or if they had the every, you know, second or third turn they healed 10 life, that would combo amazing with Fury. And that I would say is a combo that you'd actually want to use Fury. These I just don't think it's going to be too useful. I think it's going to wind up hurting you too much in the long run. And then it does combo a little bit because when he's below 50% HP, he makes a follow-up attack. So it combos a little bit well with that, but I just don't think you don't want to be taking damage that you don't have to, because you never know when, you know, someone is going to wind up doing more damage than you think. Especially in PvP, you're not really sure how much damage you're going to take from certain heroes, so you don't want to be surprised and be doing damage to yourself and then taking damage. Alright, so I'd say Hinata's probably a sent home. Alright, so let's go ahead to Laslow. Alright, so Laslow I think is a keep. You can see he's got a 15 might weapon, really big deal. He has this 30% heal, which is really good. And then also he only has one skill, so he's already good against axes. So he's just going to be even better against axes. I think it's okay to have one of those skills, either, you know, a weapon breaker or an additional triangle, but having both of those is too much overkill. And he also grants the AoE speed, which I think is a pretty big deal. So I think Laslow is actually a good hero, so I'd keep him. Ryoma. Ryoma is a keep. He has this amazing skill, counterattacks regardless of distance, 16 might weapon, extremely powerful, gets an AoE speed boost, we just talked about that, that's really good, and then also this 150% damage. So this comboed with the 150% damage, although this is a 5-turn cooldown, every time he counterattacks, every time he's attacked and he gets the counterattack, it's 2 more ticks off. So if he gets to go, attacks, and then is countered attacked, then that's 2 cooldowns gone through. And then if he's attacked and then counterattacks, that's another 2 cooldowns charged. He does have a really high base speed, and you guys can see because of his 16 might weapon, he's got a crazy high attack. So he's actually really good. He's a definite keep. And also the one benefit, he's a cavalry, so he can move extremely fast. So he can really set up and get into position really quickly. And so he's just a really good overall hero. Alright, Selena. So Selena is going to be a send home. Reposition is okay, could have some uses. 12 might weapon, and the weapon triangle, like I said, the weapon triangle is not bad. And then an AoE speed debuff. I just don't think she adds too much. Her stats, she has really good speed, average defense, kind of low attack, and then also low weapon. I just don't think she's gonna really add too much to your party. The speed debuff is actually really powerful, but I just don't think she's gonna be someone that you're gonna wanna add to your team. I think there's other units that are better. All right, Chrom. Okay, so Chrom's gonna be a keep. Every third turn recovers 10 HP. Not only that, he also has the 4-turn cooldown 50% or the 5-turn cooldown where he does more damage and recovers half the damage dealt. Those two skills, he's got just major sustain off those two skills. And then also, when he's below 50% life, he gets even more tanky and then grants AoE defense. He's really good. His starting defense is a little bit low. He does have a 16 might weapon, very powerful, has a high starting attack. Well, if you roll a 10, you got a high starting attack. He's actually really good. He looks really cool too. So he's definitely a keep. I'd definitely build him. Lon'qu. Okay. So Lon'qu is going to be a maybe, mainly because he has a low weapon might, and he also has a low weapon attack, but he does have the 50% damage with the accelerate cooldown, so he is going to get to use that quite a bit, and then has +3 speed, and you can see his starting speed is at 13, which is probably one of the highest we've seen, and then gets to counterattack when he's below 75% health. Like I said, he's a maybe. I could see him having some use, but mainly an offensive point. You're really going to have to position him to be good, just because I don't think he's going to be able to take much damage. A 4 defense is extremely low, and a 5 res is still a little bit low. It's more average, so he probably won't get to use a lot of this. So he has the possibility of doing some decent damage just because he's going to get 50% more damage. But again, if he's not lasting in the fight, a dead DPS does no DPS. So like I said, he's kind of a maybe. Lucina is a keep. Lucina's really great. So she has this start of every third turn, recovers 10 HP. Also, same thing, has a 5-turn cooldown where she can recover half the damage dealt. So she's just got a crazy amount of sustain, possibility for really high speed, 11 starting speed, 16 might weapon, really high, and then also gets even more speed when she's below 50% health, and then an AoE attack buff. Her defense, if she gets a 7, so yeah, if you roll the perfect Lucina, like, yeah, she's gonna be good, because 7 defense is good enough starting, where she'll be able to take some hits, get below 50% health, and really take advantage of this +7 speed, and really just start doing a lot of damage and healing up a whole lot. So Lucina's a keep. She's really awesome. Olivia. So Olivia is an amazing unit because she has dance. But not only does she have dance, she also has this AoE attack buff, which is really good. Because mainly I use Olivia in PvP and power leveling. So I'm actually going to be making a guide about power leveling and how to power level your heroes. But this attack buff is actually really great. It's super useful, and then also just being able to dance. In terms of doing damage, 15 might weapon is okay. Her defense and resistance are, her defense is on the average side, resistance is low. A lot of times she dies, but as long as she's gotten in a dance or two and really buffed everyone's attack, she's done her job. I don't expect her to live too long. I am eventually going to get her to 5-star just to try and make sure she's got as much defense and resistance as possible, so that way she can try and last as long as possible. But usually in PvP, if I do have someone who dies, it's a lot of times Olivia. But most of the time it's because she's taking the brunt of the attacks because of the way that I position my heroes. So she's getting off those dances, taking the damage so my other heroes can live and really take out the other team. So Olivia is really great. If you have one, definitely keep her, build her, and you guys will get to see how powerful she really is. Pretty much all endgame PvP is going to be using either sing or dance, just because certain heroes are so powerful that giving them another turn really changes the entire game, especially on offense. On defense, I actually would not suggest having an Olivia, just because on defense you want to be doing as much damage as possible. So those counter regardless of range is actually going to be better on defense in my opinion. But we'll talk about building teams in one of the next videos. So Olivia is definitely a keep. Alright, Stahl. Alright, so Stahl also has the obstruct. 12 might weapon, pretty low attack. Swap places with an adjacent ally is okay. +3 defense. He could have a pretty good starting defense. So he could be pretty tanky. He is cavalry, so he gets to move a little bit. But I just think there's better heroes. But again, like I talked about earlier, a cavalry with obstruct could really be useful because you're going to start slowing down the enemy team, especially like other cavalry units or other infantry units, because you're basically going to be wasting their turn. I think he might be tanky enough to actually do that. So if you're going for that strategy, I'd say you could try and keep him and use him for that. But other than that, if you're just going to try and add him to a team without really taking advantage of his speed and the obstruct, I don't think he's going to add too much. His damage just probably is not going to be too high. And then again, also if you're attacking someone with a disadvantage, you're getting double disadvantage. Like I said, you could keep him if you're using him for the speed and obstruct. I think he actually has some really good potential on offense for slowing down the enemy team. It just really depends on, can he survive long enough to slow down the enemy team and allow your team to get into the proper position and start doing that damage. Because he has the potential to protect archers and mages extremely well. Mainly because of the way that the movement system works, and being 2 spaces away with a ranger or with a mage, you could technically protect your mage or ranger almost indefinitely, as long as the positioning and as long as as long as Stahl is able to take that damage. So like I said, cavalry with obstruct, or like a tanky infantry with obstruct, has the potential to be very powerful and very game changing. It just really depends if that unit can really stand up to the punishment that he's going to get, because he's going to be getting out into the front lines. So like I said, if you want to use the strategy, I think he's a keep. If not, then he'd definitely be a send home. He's just not going to give you enough support for the rest of your team. Alright, so Eliwood's got this 16 might weapon and then another 4 attack, very powerful. He also has the reduced damage from attacks from 2 spaces away, so any ranged attack he's going to take 30% less damage, which is good. He does have this cavalry buff with the defense and resistance. With on my cavalry team, I'd put him and Gunter together, and I think that they'll combo pretty well together. But again, these skills, like I said, except in those specific situations, you're just not going to get to see too much of that. And then he also gets to make a follow-up attack against axe users. He's already good against axe. He's kind of maybe, to be honest, I'd actually probably send him home, just because if I had to make a decision whether it's a yes or no, I'd probably send him home just because I don't think he's going to add enough. He has the potential to do a lot of damage, to be a little bit tanky, but his other skills I just don't think they're going to be too useful. Also, being cavalry, it's only adjacent allies, so probably not going to get to use that, especially if you're maximizing speed. So really, I think using cavalry, when you're using cavalry, you have to really be taking advantage of how fast they can move. Alright, so Lin is a keep. I actually just got Lin, which is super exciting. Got a 16 might weapon, a little bit low attack, but man, is her speed crazy. Starting off at 11 speed, and I think almost every single level up that I've gotten on her was leveling up speed. Her speed just keeps going up and up and up. She has the Gale Force. A lot of people say it's not as powerful just because of 5 turns, but I think it's still extremely powerful. And this is actually extremely powerful as well. So if she's below 50% health and she has enough speed to attack twice. So normally the combat rules, if I get to attack twice because I'm faster than you, I attack once, you attack me once, and then I get to attack again. Well, this allows her to attack twice before the opponent gets to attack. So when she's about to die and she's got that crazy speed, she starts killing people very quickly. And also she gets +7 attack when she's below 50% health, so that just combos really well. You're just a monster. As soon as you get below 50% health, you just become a monster and you just start destroying everyone. And then she also gets the AoE speed buff, which is really useful. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to the Gale Force just because it is 500 SP, but I think I'm 300 SP. So I'm close to getting that, and to be honest, I have this skill already. I've gotten to use that quite a bit in matches, so Gale Force is definitely going to be a force to reckon with, especially in PvP. It's going to be a really big deal. So Lin's definitely a keep, really awesome. Alright, so Fear. So you guys can see that really low attack stat, this low attack, low might. I don't think Pass is actually very good. We've seen Pass before, but I just don't think it's a great skill. Positioning wise, it just stops heroes from blocking. But until we had like a live PvP where I'm facing a actual person in a match, the AI doesn't really like block their own heroes and like use heroes as like a wall for like their ranged heroes or their mages. So until we see that, Pass is just not a really great skill right now. It's kind of weak, I think. And also it's only it has a condition as well, so that just really takes away from it. Boost damage by the unit's resistance. So she does have a pretty high resistance. So every other turn she's going to be getting a little bit more damage, but with such a low attack and low weapon, I just don't think she's going to be doing a whole lot of damage. The +3 speed is pretty helpful. She does have a pretty high speed. I just don't think she's going to be. I think there's other units that are going to fill her role that are better. Alright, so Roy. I also just got Roy. So Roy has shove, which is a little bit, I think, weak. Smite actually pushes the ally 2 spaces away, which I think is better. But does have the weapon triangle, and then also seal defense I think is actually a lot more powerful than seal attack. So because as long as if you attack with Roy first, and this is where dance becomes so powerful. So I attack with Roy, do my damage, lower the enemy's defense by 7. Okay, 7's pretty huge. Then I dance Roy and attack again. I'm doing way more damage. I'm doing, you know, anywhere from like 5 to 10 more damage just off of that skill, and that's really going to push someone from, you know, maybe living with 5 life to now dying. So I think seal defense is actually really powerful, and then also the triangle adept can give him some extra damage to really take out those enemy heroes. And he also gets the plus 2 defense and resistance when it's attacked. He has abysmal resistance. I mean, to keep him away from mages, because he's just going to get completely annihilated. So he does get this little benefit. So with plus 2 on defense, that makes him like an average defense, like a pretty good average defense. And plus 2 res makes his resistance like average. So he has bad resistance and then becomes average when he gets attacked, but that's only with his final weapon. Of course, we're mainly talking about with the final weapon. But Roy's a keep. He has some good synergy. Unfortunately, like I said, just keep him away from the mages, because he's not gonna be able to hold his own. So it looks like maybe at the max level he gets 28. So that'll put him up to like 30. But again, that's still kind of low. And then if you get to 25, oh man, that's just not good. But Roy's a keep. All right. So Caeda. Again, I'm sorry, the pronunciations. I'm still working on it. So 12 might weapon. Rally speed, I'd say, is maybe third. I think rally attack, rally defense, and then rally speed would probably be how I would rate those. She's got a pretty decent speed at 10, and then gets plus 6 speed when attacking. I think that's really good. And then she has the flying allies defense and resistance. Unfortunately, flying heroes are seriously gimped because Takumi is the meta right now. So Takumi is the meta, and George is really powerful. We'll talk about him later. But flying is just, they're hurting really bad because of that. So until we see that meta shift, flying heroes are a little bit gimped. So I think overall she's a good unit. There's nothing that's bad about her. She has good support through the resistance. She can get other allies speed. She gets fairly quick herself when attacking. So she has some potential to be good. But right now, the ranger meta is really hurting. So she's a keep, but the ranger meta is hurting flying units. Okay, Cain. So Cain has 8 might, because we got the double attack, brave sword. So that means every turn he's going to be taking 50% reduced damage from enemies, which is crazy. So this guy is crazy tanky. Not only that, AoE attack buff, or AoE attack debuff, this guy's like a tank monster. Okay, that's pretty much all I could say. This guy's just crazy tanky. Attack stat is a little bit low. has some potential. Has got the potential to have good defense. Resistance is okay, but mainly he's going to be tanking all of your enemy melee heroes. And then he also has this Wings of Mercy. I think Escape Route's better than Wings of Mercy, but overall he's definitely a keep. He's so tanky. He just every turn taking 50% less damage from adjacent enemies. That's just so powerful. And he's a cavalry. He's not even an armored unit, so he's cavalry. That's just truly crazy because he can get into the fight really quick. All right, so Draug, Brave Sword again. So you can see there's a pretty solid pattern that if you have Brave Sword, you're going to have a lower might weapon. It makes sense. Because technically, if you were to say, okay, 8 times 2 is 16, that's like a 16 weapon. So Draug's kind of like a worse version of Cain, because his skill is the exact same skill, but it's 3 turn cooldown. So it's probably going to be every other turn. And then he gets the AoE defense. The swap places with an enemy I don't think has very much use. And then grants armored allies within 2 spaces. So he's armored, so he moves 1 space. Compared to Cain, who moves 3 spaces and is more tanky. I mean, he has higher defense, but again, he has 3 resistance. I mean, he's just gonna get one shot by every single mage that ever existed, or the dragons. So high defense, but really bad resistance. That's just abysmal. Also, on a 3-star, he can have 1 resistance. That guy's he's not gonna make it. I'd send him home. Wait for Cain. Cain could be 4 or 5 stars, so you have a pretty good chance of actually getting Cain. Cain is a keep. Draug, send him home. All right, so Marth. Marth is a keep. It's got this same thing. Effective against dragons, and then every 3rd turn recovers 10 HP. He has pivot. I don't think is super great. Has some potential, so if one of your archers happens to get caught off guard, but again, the repositioning moves, in my opinion, aren't as useful, just because if you're caught out of position, you've probably made a mistake somewhere. Because the way everything is against the AI, so you can easily outsmart the AI and look at your danger zone and say, okay, I can reposition all my units to this position, and you know that each unit can only move a certain amount of positions. So the absolute only thing that could throw you off is if the enemy hero uses one of their movement skills. But that's absolutely it. So position moves just, I don't think, are very useful. They lack any kind of creativity other than the caverns where like it's impassable and you can push your hero to the other side. But again, with positioning, it's just not as, I don't think it's going to be as useful. Those situations are going to be so rare. The AoE speed buff, which is good, and then he also has Escape Route, which we just talked about. I think Escape Route's really good because you get so much more mobility, and also if you're below 50% health, you can Escape Route out, and then start of every turn you could start recovering your 10 HP. Very powerful combo. 16 might weapon. Marth is a really good hero. He's a definite keep. Okay, Ogma. Brave Sword. Heals for damage dealt, and the +7 attack when below 50% health. This guy's a keep. He does have a little bit low starting attack, but he does have pretty good speed. Resistance is really bad, and average defense. But again, he's healing damage, so if he's able to take some damage and then really combo the +7 attack and start healing up that damage, it has the potential to be really powerful. So if you think about it, if he's got enough speed and is able to attack 4 times, he's going to heal on that 3rd attack, and then you can dance him, and if he attacks 4 times again, he'll be able to heal on that 3rd attack again. So has the potential to do a lot of self-healing. I think self-sustain is extremely powerful in this game, and it's definitely something that you don't want to overlook, and especially when things combo well, to where he's going to get to use this more often, and then he has this +7 attack when he's below 50% health. You're going to want to be healing when you're damaged, so if you're below 50% health, you're just doing that much more damage and being able to heal that much more. So he's a definite keep. So Palla, she's flying, unfortunately, again with flying, and then she also has the flying allies, and Wings of Mercy. I think she's going to be a send home, just because Wings of Mercy I don't think is super great, and then she has a possibility of +3 speed, which isn't bad, but considering that she's flying, pretty low attack, average weapon might, and then the weapon triangle, I just don't think she's going to offer too much. Like I said, until we see a shift in the meta, flying you kind of want to stay away from. I think Camilla and Cordelia are probably the only 2 flying that I'd actually use, and for the most part in PvP I try to tend to stay away from them, just because everyone's running Takumi. You know, I've been out of like the last 10 matches that I fought in, 6 of them had Takumi, and one guy had 2 of them. So it's just like you're just gonna get wrecked. Alright, so Tiki. Tiki's a keep. Has the counterattack regardless of Ranger, and slows the enemy's special trigger +1. She also gets to boost her damage by 50% of her defense. I think it's her defense, and not the enemy's defense. So the higher defense that she has, the more damage she'll get to do. She gets the +7 attack when below 50% health. Again, that combos really well with the counter attack, because she's taking damage. She's going to take damage first and then get to a counter attack. So if she's brought below 50% health, she's going to get that bonus. Oh no, this is at the start of the turn, so she's not going to get that. But it will help her if she does get to counter attack when she's below health. But what it'll do is you'll get to counter attack when you're attacked, and then next turn, if you're below 50% health, have that +7 damage, and then be able to hopefully take one of the enemy heroes out. And then AoE resistance is good. Got pretty good defense. I don't know how she could have a higher starting defense than at 5-star. So this is probably could go up to 10, maybe even 11. Resistance is pretty good. Low attack, but she is fairly tanky, and then gets this boosted by her defense. So she's a definite keep. Alright, Tiki Young. So Tiki Young is an amazing unit. She's definitely a keep. Very low speed, but high attack. She AoE heals, and also AoE damages. So very powerful, and then grants defense when she initiates. So 35 defense, so that could go up to 41. So that's a pretty big deal. She can get pretty tanky, and that'll help her survive long enough to really get off this AoE. Very powerful AoE, and then also healing other allies. Very good unit, a definite keep. Okay, Leo. So Leo is one of the heroes that I want really bad. This guy is the king of AoE damage. Okay. AoE damage, 7 pure damage every time you attack, and then every 5 turns. If this works like George, because I don't have Leo, if this works like George, what this does is a 5x1 AoE bar attack. So it just creates this 5x1 space, and everyone in there takes a huge amount of damage. I've had my George do 49 damage in that AoE, which is just crazy. And then comboed with So you're attacking and doing, possibly 30 to 50 damage in that range, AoE in a 5x1 radius. And then on top of that, everyone's taking 7 pure damage after you, every time you attack. I mean, this guy's like crazy AoE. Like, he is my most wanted mage right now because I just think he has a crazy amount of power. Also has restricting enemies' movement, very powerful. And then also, if he's attacked above 70% health, he makes a follow-up attack. This guy is really great. I'd say he's probably one of the best mages, just because of his AoE potential. You're talking, like I said, anywhere from 30 to 50 damage with this AoE, and then also a possibility of 14 damage, because if you attack, do 7 pure damage in AoE, and then dance him and attack again and do another 7 pure AoE damage, you're talking about 14 damage AoE plus a 30 to 50. Your potential is so crazy. You're talking from anywhere from 44 to 64 damage AoE. Extremely powerful. You could take out 2 heroes with that very easily. Leo is very powerful. Like I said, I think he's actually probably one of the best mages in the game, and the fact that he's cavalry makes him just even that much more powerful. His movement is just crazy. Low speed, it's okay. It's okay for him to have low speed, because if he got to attack twice per turn, it would just count down his special skill like way too fast, and he'd probably be broken. Average attack, has a 14 might weapon, which is pretty good. Pretty good resistance and average defense. Like I said, he's really amazing. When he's on the focus, you can bet I'm going to be summoning for him. Alright, so Henry. Henry does have this advantage versus colorless. With the amount of rangers, it's pretty powerful. He gets a little bit more tanky when he's below 50% health. A lot of times I just don't see my mages, as long as positioning is correct, my mages aren't getting hit by melee too much. So really this is mainly for the rangers, which I could see definitely having some use, but a lot of times the turns happen so fast in this game, it's sometimes if you're not tanky enough, you're not going to last long enough. Has average defense, so he has the potential to maybe do some damage. And really, this I think combos well if you're able to boost your damage dealt by, as long as it's his defense, having an 8 starting defense and then boosting it by another 7 has the potential to really make some damage. You're already good against green tome users, and green tome users are so rare. I haven't even seen one in PvP. I've seen Faye, but she's technically a dragon. So this is just not, I don't think it's going to be super useful. Again, with Leo, when you're trying to compare any other mage to Leo, it's really difficult because Leo is just, I think, just so powerful. And then you got guys like here who are like, yeah, they have some advantages, but overall, I think I'd send him home. I think there are some other mages that are better than Henry. Alright, so I have no idea how to say this girl's name. Tharja. I know I know I'm butchering the names, but okay. So 13, and then also adds total bonuses on units damage dealt. Has the potential to do quite a bit of damage, and then also vengeance if she's taken damage, able to add that, and then plus 6 speed. Has a kind of a low starting speed, but if you're able to double attack with all these bonuses, you'd definitely be able to kill someone. And then an AoE resistance. Really, I think in mages you're looking for damage, and I think she has it. So I would definitely take her over, like, let's say Henry, who's kind of a mixed bag of, he has to take damage in order to do more damage, and she has that as well, but she also gets this bonus damage. So I think she's actually a keep. I would use her definitely over Henry, especially if you're looking for a fire mage. So, Lilina. Okay, so this one, wide area, deal damage, AoE damage, has extra attack, and grants everyone extra attack. 13 might weapon. She's actually really good too. Her starting attack's a little bit low, has pretty good resistance, average defense, lower speed, but she has the potential to do damage, a lot of damage, and AoE damage. So I think she's actually a good unit. I definitely keep her. So she's actually really good. So I know the last three guys have been just butchering their names. So Raigh or Raigh, I'm not sure how to say his name. Low weapon might, and also low weapon attack. Does have rally attack, which I said I think is probably the better one, and gets a little bit of extra HP, but his starting HP is really bad. But it's in line with most of the mages, so he gets a little bit more tanky. And this skill is really powerful for setting up other mages. After combat, foe resistance suffers -7. Very powerful. Again, like I talked about the combo where you use him and attack an enemy, dance him, and then now he's doing 5 to 10 more damage. Can be a really big deal against those like tanky units. But other than that, his starting damage is already really low. I think there's better units. I actually used him for a really long time just because I didn't have any other red tone mages. So don't send home your only mage, but if you got one of the other mages that I talked about, I definitely use them over him. Alright, Sophia, and this is the last one. Alright, so Sophia, really low speed, average attack, 13, average weapon might, 50% attack, resistance during initiating combat, I don't think super great. Mainly because you're trying to do damage. As a tome user, you just want to take out the enemy. You want to use almost like a glass cannon, just boom, because your range, you're already ranged, so you'll have a meat shield or a tank in between any kind of melee users that are coming. So really, the only people to worry about is other mages, who should be pretty squishy, and other rangers, who will probably also be pretty squishy. So you just need to one-shot those, because you don't want to take any damage because you're probably going to die. Most of the mages have really bad HP in terms of they're just like 17s, 18s. That's really low HP. You just really want to be able to take out the enemy heroes. So again, I think there's other heroes that are better. Don't send home your only red tome. But I think there's there's other tome users that are better, and I'd probably send Sophia home. So that's it, guys. Appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this. I still get in those discussions about, okay, I disagree with this, and I love to see those, and I love to comment, and we can actually talk about those. That's, I think, one of the most exciting things about posting these videos, because we can start those discussions. We got one more part left in the series, and we're going to be doing colorless. There's some really cool colorless heroes, some really powerful ones. One of them, Takumi, you guys know about, shaping the meta right now. So that's all I got. Hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment so we can start a discussion. I'll see you guys next time.